Have you ever walked out of a lecture, a sermon, or a spiritual talk, feeling inspired only to return to your old habits the very next day? You felt something in your chest, a softness, a tear in your eye, a promise in your heart. I will change. But then the shop opens, the phone rings, the bills wait, the world pulls you back. And slowly that light fades. Hazrat Abdul Qadir Jilani, radiallahu anhu, once said, "If you come to me but do not put my teachings into practice, you would only be a nuisance to the audience." As long as you are in your shop, you continue to think of your failing business. And when you come to me, it is only to comfort yourself. No matter how many times you come to listen, it is as if you heard nothing. Oh, property owner, forget about your property and come and sit among the poor and be humble to Allah and to them. These are not just words, they are a mirror. He is not rejecting the listener, he is awakening the sleeper. In the Sufi path, listening is not enough. Knowledge is not decoration. Spiritual gatherings are not entertainment. They are medicine, and medicine only works if you swallow it. Imagine a man who visits a doctor every week. He listens carefully to every instruction. He nods. He thanks the doctor. But he never takes the prescribed medicine. What happens to his illness? It remains. Many of us treat spiritual knowledge the same way. We collect quotes. We share reminders. We attend lectures. We feel inspired, but our anger remains. Our pride remains. Our greed remains. Our attachment to dunya remains. Hazrat Jilani was addressing this sickness. He described a man who sits in his shop, thinking only of his failing business. His heart is tied to profit and loss, to customers and competition. Then he comes to the gathering of remembrance, not to transform himself, but to find temporary comfort. There is a difference between seeking Allah and seeking relief. One wants Allah himself, the other only wants to feel better. Sufism teaches us that the heart cannot be divided. If your heart is fully occupied with property, status, and fear of loss, where will Allah reside? When he says, "O property owner, forget about your property," he does not mean abandon your responsibilities. Islam does not ask us to escape the world. It asks us to remove the world from our hearts. You can own wealth, but wealth must not own you. You can run a business, but your heart must not collapse when business declines. You can sit on a chair of status, but inside, you must sit on the ground of humility. The Sufi masters constantly reminded their students, the real journey is not from city to city, it is from ego to surrender. When Hazrat Jilani says, "Come and sit among the poor," he is inviting us to break our pride, to sit where our ego feels uncomfortable, to remember that before Allah, there is no rich and poor. There is only servant and Lord. In real life, this message touches every one of us. How many times have we delayed prayer because of work? How many times have we justified dishonesty because business is tough? How many times have we attended a gathering, felt emotional, and then returned to gossip, arrogance, and heedlessness? We think attending is enough. But Allah looks at transformation. The Sufi path is not about how many gatherings you attend. It is about how much your heart changes. When you truly listen, something shifts. Your speech softens. Your gaze lowers. Your charity increases. Your ego weakens. Your patience grows. If nothing changes, then perhaps we only heard with our ears, not with our hearts. Hazrat Jilani's words may sound strict, but they are filled with mercy. He is not pushing people away. He is pushing their egos away. Because the greatest barrier between us and Allah is not our job, not our family, not our responsibilities. It is our nafs, the ego that loves praise, control, and comfort. We want spirituality as long as it does not disturb our lifestyle. We want closeness to Allah as long as it does not challenge our pride. We want Jannat without sacrificing our ego. But the Sufi way is different. It says, die before you die. Meaning, let your arrogance die. Let your greed die. Let your attachment to praise die. Only then does the heart become alive. When he calls the wealthy man to sit among the poor, he is teaching us equality in humility. The poor often have nothing to rely on except Allah. Their hearts are trained in dependence. The wealthy must learn that same dependence, even while surrounded by possessions. The real poverty in Sufism is not lack of money. It is realizing your complete need for Allah. And the real wealth is not property. It is contentment. So ask yourself, why do you seek knowledge? To feel superior? To quote others? To gain respect? Or to purify your heart? Every lecture you hear is either a proof for you or against you. If it softens you, it is a mercy. If it leaves you unchanged, it becomes a witness. Hazrat Abdul Qadir Jilani wanted people who would live the message, not just admire it. He wanted hearts that tremble, not ears that merely hear. Today, in our fast-paced world, we consume spiritual content like we consume entertainment. A reminder on one screen, a motivational clip on another. But reflection is rare, practice is rarer. What if, after listening to this, you changed one habit? What if you prayed with more presence tonight? What if you forgave someone you've been holding resentment against? What if you gave charity secretly? What if you humbled yourself before someone you once looked down upon? That is the true response to spiritual words. Because in the end, we will not be asked how many talks we attended. We will be asked how much we obeyed. The Sufi masters cry not because people lack knowledge, but because they lack sincerity. So let us not be visitors in gatherings of light while remaining residents of darkness in our actions. Let us not seek comfort without commitment. Let us come not only with our bodies, but with our hearts stripped of arrogance. Tonight, when you sit alone, away from your shop, your phone, your responsibilities, ask yourself honestly, have I been seeking Allah, or have I only been seeking comfort in His name?